Right, okay, here's another thing we were looking at the other night when we were doing some revision. We just need to clarify about colour correction. How is colour correction a form of oxidation and also a form of reduction? And I gave you the task of looking at two different products. So we had some Effusor on a trolley, but then we also had a picture of a normal colour reducer. So they're the two types of products that we can use when we're trying to decolour someone's hair. So they've tinted it perhaps very dark, or they've got a build-up of colour, and we're needing to remove that in order to establish a new undercoat and get a fresher result. So the first one we looked at was colour correction in the form of oxidation. Now that's when we use Effusor, our pink sachet products that we've got in dispensary. Effusor really is kind of like a bleach bath, but obviously it's been specifically designed by L'Oreal. We've got two ways of using Effusor. We know that we can do a gentle cleanse with warm water and a bain-marie. Remember, some of you had trouble spelling a bain-marie. It's B-A-I-N and Marie as in the girl's name. But this one we're looking at now, it involves the deep cleanse. So this would be the deep cleanse version of the Effusor product, where we mix hydrogen peroxide with the sachet of Effusor. And this is known as colour correction, but it's a form of oxidation, because we know when we mix the peroxide with the Effusor, it's going to release oxygen. Now, the release of oxygen, it basically gets the oxidizing of the old tint in the cortex to make it colourless. So when you're using Effusor with peroxide, you'll see almost immediately the colour of your client's old tint will start to change. It's almost being bleached out. So as you go through the development and just checking it literally minute by minute, you'll see that it's slowly leaving a bleach effect on the parts of the hair that you've applied it to. So it's really important when you're using Effusor that you only apply it to where the tint is. What do you think is going to happen if you accidentally put the Effusor onto virgin hair? Exactly, it's probably going to lift that virgin hair and make it look bleached as well, which will be a nightmare for you. The whole hairstyle will probably look like a humbug. So it's only got to be on the dark tint only where you're trying to lift and bleach it out. Once we've got the established lift of what we want, we would rinse out the Effusor, we would shampoo and just give the hair a small treatment. And then we'd bring the client back to the workstation, we'd blow dry the hair and then assess the undercoat. So we want to see with the undercoat, is it a yellow or is it a yellowy orange or an orange red? How is that going to work with the target colour that the client eventually wants to be? It could be that we might need to pre-pigment still based upon the colour that the client needs. We can maybe just go ahead and retint quite easily over the whole of the client's hair. Maybe that client is then going on having highlights. So our aim would carry on with mixing up our bleach and maybe doing some foil work over that hair, but knowing that perhaps the undercoat is a lot better than when they first walked in with very, very dark hair. So this whole process that we were talking about is colour correction in the form of oxidization. Now the difference with another product we can use to remove old tint from the client is a form of reduction. Now reduction is different. We don't stock a colour reducer in our college salon, but colour reducers are readily available from Sally's, and also Main chemists will sell them also. They're probably a safer product, that maybe that's why some people are doing it themselves at home. It's something we would never advise. I'd always advise anybody to seek professional skill and get a stylist to do that for them. But a reduction is slightly different. When we apply the colour reducer, we often have two bottles that are mixed together, and basically we apply that to the areas where we need the colour to be lifted and removed. And what happens whilst that colour reducer is sitting on the hair, it's quite wet and watery. It's going to break down the expanded tint in the cortex and make the molecules much smaller so it can be rinsed out. So remember, when we're normally tinting, when we tint someone's hair, we have these sort of tiny little dotty pigments. Okay, and with the addition of peroxide, it goes into the cortex, and when we're dyeing someone's hair over, say if we're using L'Oreal, over that 35-minute period, those little pigments cluster together and form sort of links and structures, so they become so big and fat they get stuck in the cortex and they can't be removed, and that's what gives us permanent hair colour. So the role of the colour reducer is to reduce the size of these fat pigments so they're broken up and they become smaller again. Okay, so during that development time, this is going on. Okay, it's a form of reduction, all right, cutting down in size. So these smaller pigments would be removed from the hair, out of from the cortex, out of the cuticle when we're rinsing, and we're going to be left with an undercoat. So when we rinse, we'll see a different colour to what the tint was showing when we first started. We would then assess the undercoat. There's normally a peroxide rinse that would go on top of the hair after that to stabilise the hair and also just check that the reduction has worked. We would then rinse the hair, shampoo and condition, and then we would dry the hair and bring the client back to the workstation. Choose then a target colour to apply on top. So the differences between the two are an oxidation of colour correction is the addition of hydrogen peroxide, which is the Effosol product that we normally use in the salon, but also another one that could be in the test paper could be asking you about reduction when we're doing a colour correction. And this really applies to a colour reducer that breaks down these expanded artificial molecules in the cortex, which is the old tint that the client doesn't want anymore, and the reduction will reduce the size of these molecules so they're able to escape back out of the cuticle, and that would leave us then with an undercoat to work on in order to choose a brand new colour.